The first thing I noticed wasn't my son. It was the car seat. A faded blue infant car seat, tilted awkwardly in the back of a dusty sedan, parked crookedly under a flickering light in the far corner of the airport parking lot. The engine was off. The windows were fogged from the inside. My stomach dropped. I was supposed to be picking him up from a flight. That's what his last text had said. Landing at 11:40. See you soon, Dad. But it was almost 1 a.m., and his phone had gone straight to voicemail for the past hour. I stepped closer, my shoes crunching on gravel, heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the distant roar of planes. Then I saw him, slumped forward in the driver's seat, chin against his chest, exhaustion carved deep into his face. And in the back, two tiny heads, wrapped in blankets, sleeping. My grandchildren. Twins. Barely a year old. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I knocked on the window. Hard. He jolted awake, panic flashing in his eyes, until he saw me. Dad! His voice cracked. What are you doing here? I didn't answer. I opened the door and the smell hit me. Stale milk, sweat, something sour and hopeless. The smell of people living where they shouldn't have to. Where is she? I asked quietly. He didn't respond. Just looked away. That's when I knew something was terribly wrong. 3 months earlier, my life had still made sense. My wife, Laura, and I had been married for 34 years. We weren't perfect, but we were solid, or so I believed. We babysat the twins every weekend. Laura adored them, always insisting on keeping extra clothes at our house, extra bottles, extra everything. She was especially close to my daughter-in-law, Megan. Too close, maybe. Long whispered conversations. Late-night calls that stopped when I walked into the room. I told myself it was nothing. That's what you do when you love someone. You protect the version of them that feels safe. But the signs had been there. Missed calls Laura brushed off. Her phone always face down. A sudden obsession with helping Megan out financially, even though my son had a good job. And then there was the night my son showed up alone. No Megan. No twins. She's visiting her sister, he'd said. But his eyes were red, his smile forced. Laura had gone stiff beside me, fingers tightening around her wine glass. Later that night, I heard her crying in the bathroom. When I asked, she said, I'm just tired. I believed her. In the parking lot, my son finally spoke. She left, he said flatly. 2 weeks ago. I stared at him. Left where? He swallowed. With someone else. The words felt unreal, like dialogue from a bad movie. Megan? I asked. He nodded once. And the twins? She didn't want them, he said, his voice breaking for the first time. She said they got in the way. My knees nearly buckled. Then why are you here? I asked. Why aren't you home? He laughed, a hollow sound. Home? Dad, we were renting. She emptied the account before she left. I couldn't make the last payment. I looked at the sleeping babies. At the thin blankets. At my son's unshaven face. How long have you been sleeping in the car? I asked. He hesitated. A week. I turned away before he could see my face crumble. That was when my phone buzzed. A text from Laura. Are you with him? My blood ran cold. How do you know? I typed. The reply came almost instantly. Please come home. We need to talk. The drive back was silent. My son followed me in his car, headlights flickering like a weak heartbeat in my rearview mirror. Laura was waiting in the living room when I walked in. Sitting straight. Composed. Too composed. She looked at me and said, before you say anything, you need to understand, I was only trying to help. That sentence shattered something in me. Help who? I asked. She closed her eyes. Megan. The room felt smaller. Suffocating. She came to me months ago, Laura continued. She said she felt trapped. That she regretted everything. And you thought the solution was to help her leave my son? I asked. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She loved someone else. I laughed. Loud. Bitter. You knew. And you didn't tell me. She begged me not to, Laura whispered. She said he'd take the kids out of spite. I slammed my hand on the table. So instead, you helped her steal from him? Disappear? She flinched. I gave her money, yes. I thought it would give her a chance to start over. What about him? I demanded. What about your grandchildren sleeping in a car? Her silence was my answer. That night, I slept on the couch. Or tried to. Every memory felt poisoned. Every smile, every family dinner replayed with new meaning. The betrayal wasn't just Megan's. It was my wife's. The next morning, my son came inside with the twins. Laura tried to hold them. He stepped back. Don't, he said quietly. That word hit harder than any scream. I watched my wife crumble as she realized the cost of her silence. Later, after my son fell asleep in the guest room with the babies, Laura and I sat across from each other like strangers. I don't know who you are anymore, I told her. She nodded, defeated. I was wrong. Yes, I said. You were. There was no yelling. No dramatic goodbye. Just a quiet understanding that something sacred had been broken. It's been a year since that night. My son and the twins live with me now. He's rebuilding, slowly. Some days are still hard. Some nights I hear him pacing, haunted by questions that will never have answers. Laura moved out. We're legally still married, but emotionally, that ended in the airport parking lot. Sometimes I think about how easily love can blind you. How loyalty, misplaced, can destroy everything it's meant to protect. And sometimes, late at night, I remember the sight of my grandchildren sleeping in the back of that car, and I remind myself of this truth. Betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes, it comes from the person sitting right beside you, swearing they're doing it for the family. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is finally open your eyes.